and gentlemen, in preparing this unprecedented complete work show, we have encountered this small problem: how to make these 400-year-old plays accessible to a modern audience. One popular trend is to take the plays and transpose them into a modern setting. We have seen evidence of this in such unusual locations as Nazi concentration camps, the lunar landscape, and Cleveland, Ohio. In this vein, just as trace the roots of Shakespeare's symbolism and the context of a pre-Nietzschean society, and through the totality of a changing circular relationship of form, contrasted with the metaphysical cosmologies entrenched in the ethical mores of an agrarian race. But now we shall move on to explore the genius evident in his more mature plays, as we present his dark and brooding tragedy, Othello, more of Venice.
Speak of me as I am. Let nothing extenuate the love I have for my dear Desdemona. Oh, Desi!
We left Adam on his own to research this play. He must have looked up the word more in the dictionary and thought it was a place where you tie up hooks, which in this context is totally key-brained. In the 16th century, the word more referred to a black person.
Oh, I feel like such a dork.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, we obviously have a little bit of a problem performing Othello the Moor of Venice, because
It's
obviously not. I mean,
it's politically incorrect.
It's really it's hard
I'm
to explain.
Irish.
It's
That's not close at
You know,
all. And
it's like our bread.
I mean, I watched Top Model a lot, but it's not like we're honkies, basically, is what we are.
So the bottom line here is we're unable to perform Othello the Moor of Venice. So we'll just move on.
Wait. Come on. Just because we're white doesn't mean we can't do Othello. We've got an idea. Just kind of join in. Here's the story of a brother named Othello. He liked white women and he liked green jello.
Oh, yeah. And the punk named Iago who had made himself a mess because he didn't like Othello the Moor of Venice.
Now Othello got married to Desdemona.
But he took up for the wars and he left her alone.
It wasn't Mona.
Agrona. He left her alone.
He didn't write a letter and he didn't telephone her. Desdemona, she was pickle, she was chastity tight, she was the daughter of a duke.
Yeah, she was totally white, but Iago had a plan that was clever and slick. He was crafty.
He was sly.
He was sort of a dick.
He says, hey, I'm gonna shaft the Moor.
How you gonna do it? Tell us.
Well, I know his tragic flaws, that he's just too damn jealous. I need a dupe, I need a dope, I need a kind of schmo.
So we find a chump sucker by the name of Cassio.
Plants on his Desdemona's handkerchief, so Othello gets to wondering maybe just if he'll be going out fighting.
Commanding an army.
Our Desi and Cass playing hide the salami. Salami!
So we come back home and stick a pillow in her face.
Kills her and soliloquies about his disgrace.
But there's Amelia at the door.
We meet in Act 4.
You say, you big dummy, she were no whore.
She was pure, she was clean, she was virginal too. So why'd you have to go and make her face turn blue?
It's true.
It's you, and what you gonna do?
And Othello says,
Yo, this is getting pretty scary.
So he pulled out his blade and committed Harry Carey.
I haven't got caught, but he probably copped a plea.
Loaded up his bags.
Moved to Beverly.
Hills, that is.
So, we're going to move on from all this heavy tragedy for a while and move on to the comedies.
Comedies, yeah, right.
Comedies. Okay. Now, when it came to the comedies, Shakespeare was a genius at borrowing and adapting different theatrical traditions from the ages. This would be a good time for them to join.
Like Ovid's Metamorphoses, which are hysterically funny, not as well as the rich Italian tradition of commedia dell'arte.
Yeah, basically, Shakespeare stole everything he ever wrote.
Stole's kind of strong, dude. Distilled maybe.
Well, then he distilled the 3 of the 4 funniest gimmicks of his time and built them into 16 plays.
You see, essentially Shakespeare was a formula writer. Once he found a gimmick that worked, he used it.
Over and over and over again. So the question we have for you is this. Why did you write 16 comedies when you could have written just one? In answer to this question, we have condensed all of 16 Shakespeare's comedies into one, which we have liked to title The Comedy of Two Well-Measured Gentlemen Lost in the Merry Wives of Venice on a Midsummer's Twelfth Night in Winter.
Cymbeline taming Pericles the Merchant in the Tempest of Love as much as you'd like it for nothing.
Or
The Love Boat Goes to Verona. Comedies?
comedies.
Comedy. Act 1. A Spanish duke swears an oath of celibacy and turns the rule of his kingdom over to his sadistic and tyrannical twin brother. He learns some fantastical feats of magic and sets sail for the golden age of Greece, along with his daughters, 3 beautiful and virginal sets of identical twins. While rounding the hill of Italy, the duke's ship is caught up in a terrible tempest, which, in its fury, casts the duke's ship onto an island, along with his most beautiful and virginal daughter, who stumbles into a cave where she is molested by a creature who is either a man or a fish, or both.
Act 2. The long-lost brothers of the Duke's sons, also coincidentally 3 sets of identical twins, have just arrived in Italy. Though still possessed of an inner nobility, they are ragged, destitute, penniless shadows of the flea-infested men they once were, and in the utmost extremity are forced to put down the brains as collateral on a loan. Meanwhile, the 6 brothers fall in love with 6 Italian sisters, 3 of whom are contentious, sharp-tongued little shrews, while the other 3 are submissive, air-headed little bamboos.
Act 3. The shipwrecked identical daughters of the Duke wash up on the shores of Italy, disguise themselves as men, and become pages to the shrews and matchmakers to the Duke's brothers' sons. They lead them all into a nearby forest where, on a midsummer's night, a bunch of mischievous fairies squeeze the aphrodite juice of a hermaphroditic flower onto the shrews' eyes, who make them fall in love with the shrews, who in turn fall in love with the pages and matchmaker to the Duke's brothers' sons. Well, the queen of the fairies seduces the jackass, and they all have a lovely orgy.
Act 4. The Duke commands the fairies to right their wrongs,
Pages and the bimbos get into a knockdown, drag-out fight in the mud.
During which the pages' clothes get ripped off, revealing the female. Act 5.
the Duke recognizes the daughters.
The Duke's sons recognize their uncle,
One of the bimbos grows up to be Vanna White.
And they all get married and go out to dinner.
except for a minor character in the 2nd act who gets eaten by a bear. And the Duke's brothers' sons, unable to pay back the old Jew that they borrowed the money from, are forced to give themselves lobotomies.
And they all